Hey people, what's going on? This is FitSpaz Recovery and I'm your host, Paul, the producer. This show is all about helping you get fit, healthy, and stay sober. And I have a lot on my mind this week. I was really restless when I went to bed last night and I was like, these are all things I want to be talking about when I come back and do this show. Hopefully I can remember a lot of them. My daughter's still gone with her mom in Slovakia this week, so I had a 3-day period this weekend when I hadn't heard from them in a while, and I just like to hear, oh, hey, we're doing okay. So finally she emailed me, and I got to Skype my daughter, and my mind really, settled out. I'm like, okay, there she is. It's okay. Everything's okay. And but I must say, I had 3 days of meditation that were very scatterbrained. I would say, it's up there. They're in the past almost year and a half that I've been doing this on a very regular, almost daily basis. I haven't had many days where I'm scatterbrained and having a tough time dealing with it, but my daughter being like one of the most important things in the world to me, it's just like I like to hear that she's doing all right. And when I heard she was doing all right, it really settled me out. So it was really interesting those subsequent days I'd been meditating, how much more I was able to just ease out and relax and be into it. And I actually happened to feel very nervous because she's traveling on July 4th, and I hear these scare tactics on TV about traveling during the Independence Day holiday, and it just makes me nervous because it's the day they're supposed to be attacking. Never mind who they. Just so I want my daughter to get home safe. I've been praying daily that she's safe and well, and for she and her mom and her mom's BF husband guy, whatever he is, that they all get home safely and stuff. So yeah, that's what's been on my mind. So last week I was telling you a little bit how I was withdrawn, and I think I was saying how I was sad she was gone. So I've been doing things. I've been going out of my way to step outside my comfort zone and doing a pretty good job. I've been doing some things that are different. And there's this part of me as like a self-proclaimed cool guy that doesn't want to admit what I've been doing, but it's been interesting and it's been nice, and so I'm gonna keep doing it. And it was like on Friday night, last Friday night, which I think was the day I last put a show up. They've been a little inconsistent. They've been a day off here and there, and I'm gonna try and get back to being consistent. But anyway, Friday night I decided to go to an open mic at the place where I go to do Marijuana Anonymous. It's called Unity Church, and they were like having an open mic where people were just getting up in front of a group of people and performing their own little piece with the requisite that it has to be uplifting. So people were like, you should do it, Paul. And I'm like, nah, I don't have very many uplifting pieces, and even parts where it's pretty and uplifting. There's a lot of pretty in what I do, and there's a lot of uplifting. But it's kind of manic because one moment in the song I'm singing about love and it's all pretty and it sounds positive. It goes south and it becomes dark and negative. Even the piece I've most recently been recording, it's called Mateen. Draw your own conclusion about what and who that's about, right? But it's exceedingly dark. There's nothing about it that would be appropriate to play in this venue, but I do have light stuff. I can think of a couple things. If I just rehearse that, I'm like, I could play that there. But anyway, my point is, I got out, I went down there and I saw an interesting open mic. And you never know. It's always like, what am I going to see at this open mic when I go and do this? And there were certainly a couple people where I was like, wow, really talented and very interesting. So I see people performing and it stokes something in me. It makes me want to come home and do something of my own. So that Friday night I came home and I kept working on my own new piece, the dark one that I just told you about, added a bass track and so forth. But I felt really driven. I stayed up till 11:30 that night, and I'm like, 11:30, that's past my bedtime. But It really is. I'm not joking. I like to get to bed about between 10:30 and 11 is, and sleep in ideally till about 7 a.m. That's like the right amount of hours. And gosh, there really is a lot on my mind. So to continue getting out of my comfort zone, this church has a mass on Sunday morning. And I decided, oh, what the heck, I'm going to go down there and see what kind of thing this is, because I've heard a lot about it from a couple people who attend Marijuana Anonymous with me. And so it's different. It's sort of like a non-traditional church, which is all fine with me. It doesn't feel like they're judgmental about things that a lot of other churches are automatically like, oh, so-and-so judge you for... I'm not going to get into those political aspects. So it just feels very comfortable in that way. Like, the point here is about faith. It's not to be judging people and making people feel uncomfortable or unwelcome, which felt pretty good. But it felt like going to the open mic because it's a very musical, what do you call it? The whole mass or church session, whatever you call it, it's very musical. So consequently, I got to see several people performing. And this one lady who heads up the music there, like, she's a great pianist and singing along with stuff. And I was like, gosh, that is really nice. And this other gentleman who performed a couple pieces, like, professional singer right there. And I was like, holy moly, excellent. So it just had a pretty good vibe and a nice group of people. They make me feel well. I don't feel uncomfortable because they're just all very friendly and stuff. And I'm not... It's funny you go to something like that, someone like me who's had a history of being very loud and obnoxious and egotistical, and just sort of a big point of it is for me to put my ego on the back burner. And I noticed something I do about myself. Okay, God, this could be a long one today, people. I have a tendency to talk about myself a lot in front of people, and let me tell you the reason why. I think this is what I realized. I talk about myself a lot because, not just because I'm self-absorbed. It's sort of like this self-defense mechanism where I'm like, if I listen to you, we might connect. And if we connect, that puts me at risk of having my feelings hurt and whatever. So there's this part of me that's blabbing on and on. And so I'm remembering, like, to avoid that personal hurt, I'm blabbing on and on. So I'm actually remembering to be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, stuff I've been reading, the way I've been thinking, wanting to help people in their lives, I've been thinking more like, okay, I need to express and show interests for people. I wonder what's up with that. Like, why this TV is like blip. It should just be a consistent signal, and I don't know why it goes out like that occasionally. But anyway, I've been trying to remember to be interested in others, not just pretend to be interested, but to really, like, dig in there and ask them questions, get to know who they are, not relate it back to me all the time, but really make them feel like they're interesting. And when I do that, it usually flows because there's something interesting about people. If you poke in enough areas, try to get to know people. I've often thought, like, in life, how often it's happened to me, how often I've probably done it to others, where I've judged them in my mind and I've put them in like a perceptive box where they're not really getting to know me and I'm not getting to know them. They don't know that I'm a great songwriter. Like, what's up, TV? That's concerning for me. I'm wondering what I'm going to have to do here to solve that problem. It doesn't normally do that. I'm going to keep an eye on that, and I might pause this momentarily. But so showing interest in other people, it's important for me to help people and know people are feeling, just making people feel important. You know what I mean? And not because I'm thinking, there's not this thing in the back of my mind like, hey, I want you to like me, so I'm building you up. It's really like just wanting to help people and make people feel better about themselves. So what I was saying is we don't really get to know each other enough in life. So many times people hear like dating, for example, women are like, okay, I have you in this box, you're in the friend zone, or you're in the I would never date you zone. Even though I've only looked at this 5% of your life and personality and judged you based on that. I'm not really getting to know the full breadth of you. That's what we have to do as people, is try to get to know people fully. And maybe that's a self-defense mechanism. Maybe that's a person being like, I can't get to really know you because I'm just shy and I'm afraid of getting hurt. Maybe that's why I do it myself. But other things that have been occurring to me, especially with regard to substance abuse, okay? But first, let me say, I've been working out still. I've been doing a pretty good job. I moved to this third and final phase of my Body Beast workout, my 4th round. I've reintroduced legs into the routine, and boy, did I do a number on my legs this week. It was my own workout I made up, and it lasted about 40 minutes doing all these things, squats, lunges, and isometric holds with my legs and so forth. And boy, did I get sore this week. But that soreness, I really love that soreness, because I'm like, hey, that soreness means my muscle's going to recuperate. It's going to be stronger, and it's even going to have a slightly better shape. And so I get a kick out of that. That's why I keep doing it. So you work the muscle really hard. It's sore, and knowing that it's sore means you broke it down to the point where it's going to get bigger and have a nicer shape. Like I said, you're going to be stronger, and that motivates me, fuels me, makes me feel good. I also think that just that's a function that stimulates the healing of the body. So you break it down, and when you're stimulating the healing of the body, overall your health is enhanced, your immunity. You flush toxins out of the body when you get going, when you get moving. I love all that. Last night when I did my dance routine, yes, I'm still doing that on Wednesdays. So very pleased with it too. It's getting so much better quickly, like, because I have the vocabulary of certain moves. I'm picking up routines more easily. I have the mirror here. I can see what I'm doing. By golly, when I'm getting hot and sweaty, I really feel like that cleansing process is taking place in my life. I also feel like from that movement and use of energy, I'm sleeping better. So I love it. The movement, the sleep, and like, listen to this. This is relevant to people who have problems with substance abuse, because you have to get over those first months of trying to be sober to really start enjoying yourself and your new state of mind and being committed to it and surrendering to it. But like, sleeping being such an important component of your overall mood. I know when I lack sleep, I'm operating with an emotional deficit, and emotions have so much to do with being able to stay sober. So you have to always be mindful of what you're doing with your sleep, what you're doing with your activity, which I think if you do the right amount, you're going to be boosting your mood, boosting your health and the natural state of the body and whatever. And this just seems like common sense to me. I'm not trying to get scientific or be pompous about it. The food you put in, I've talked about this before. I finally got my plumbing problem fixed in my kitchen, and my nutrition had suffered, but I've been eating salads again, and those have those get rid of those free radicals in the body when you're eating tons of greens and fruits and things, even uncooked. Steaming broccoli. God, I've consumed a mountain of broccoli this week over the past couple days, and I love that. I'm going to start putting peppers into my salads. I haven't been eating tomatoes because I keep reading about how tomatoes make the body acidic, and I'm like, damn, I want my body to be less acidic, because you have less problems, you develop less sickness and disease like that. But when I don't have a little bit of tomato in my salad, it just loses a special something, and I'm like, dag nabbit. I mean, it's still good, but it's like, I love a great Roma tomato in there, or these little cherry tomatoes. And it's like, what do you mean they make my body acidic? And maybe it's not as bad as I think, and maybe I should just consume them anyway. Been eating a lot of pasta, which supposedly is inflammatory with the body, and that's not good. So I've been eating a little less of a helping of pasta, a little more protein, which is like, the protein's an animal product. So I'm conscious of the fact that I want to reduce animal products. Anyway, that's not exactly what I want to be talking about. Excuse me. What I want to be talking about is, so I just told you those good things you can do for your your mood and your emotional state. Very important. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and being on a set pattern with it. These things really help me dial in my emotional state of mind, in conjunction with the sobriety that I'm committed to now. Not drinking alcohol, not smoking pot. Those are my two go-to drugs of choice that I have been hugely indulgent in the past. Poorly stated, but a great point. So, like, emotionally, I've talked to some people who've been suffering the past week for various reasons. A breakup. One friend's going through a breakup, and another has a friend who I was aware of who actually killed herself. Very dramatic, traumatic stuff to deal with, and very tempting and understanding that when something like that happens, people run to drug use to sort of put those feelings away or numb those feelings. And I was saying how important it is not to do that, to deal with an emotional situation by running to drugs to deal with it. Reason being, it all has to do with how drugs, I think, hinder and obstruct your emotional maturity and your emotional growth. And so if you have something heavy you're dealing with, if you start pouring drugs into your system as a means of dealing with it, you're not dealing with it, actually. You're just putting it on the back burner. And when you finally get broken down emotionally and you're just in a really bad place, and when you start realizing and you're honest with yourself, like, hey, sobering up is something I need to do, so you'll decide to sober up, and it's going to be that much harder, because once those nerve endings start feeling again, emotionally and physically, you're going to be like a total sore sourpuss. You're going to be extra sore physically and emotionally dealing with all these things. And so the sooner you can realize dealing with life in a sober state and learning to cope with things emotionally is better, it's better for you. You're going to have a harder time coping once you decide to get clean. If you're indulging to deal with bad you're not even dealing with things emotionally. We are obstructed from emotional growth, is my point, when we are pouring drugs into our system to deal with things that are hard to deal with, whether a breakup, whether that poor lady who I know through someone else who killed herself. Very strange situation, I'll just tell you something about that really quick. It's that evidently this person was, like, my dad growing up used to say something that he heard, I think, from his business partner or something. They're both aware of this. I've heard them both say it. It's that a lot of people go through their lives in a silent agony, and we don't even know it. And so I'm thinking about a lot of people who put on a brave face and project some kind of happiness out there when in fact they're really in a deep state of suffering. So my point being, this lady who committed suicide because of serious mental issues, obviously depression and so forth, on her Facebook page, she put out a very positive, uplifting Facebook page, pictures of exercising and working out and being in groups of people and smiling and happiness and stuff. And so it's in major juxtapose to the emotional life she was truly leading. And what a shame, actually. I think, it's hard to say. Everybody is in such a unique position as a unique individual. What are you dealing with? The context of your own personal life individually as a person. And so I guess, if you care about people, you want to reach out and engage. I know that for me, when I stay I've said it on here, when I stay cooped up, not interacting with the outer world, I start getting more anxious from being lonely and isolated. And I notice that when I get out there around people, I actually do feel better. I can go from being in a bad mood to a good mood quite quickly, just being around a group of nice people, and even not being the center of attention, just listening to what people are saying, being quiet even, just being around people has an uplifting feeling. So I would encourage that for some people, like connecting with the right types of people who are engaged in the right types of behavior, who are seemingly emotionally stable and mature. I think we take on these qualities if we hang out and associate with people who are in a good state of mind, who are clearly happy. I think our emotional state is contagious. So if we hang out with people who are complainers, we're going to develop that. If we hang out with people who are optimistic and pointing out the good in things, we're going to pick up on that. And I've noticed these tendencies, whether I'm here or in Italy, all in a diverse range of people, you know. So it's very important to, you can have control of this. Control who you're hanging out with. Is that person bad for you? Are they bringing you down? Consider that. I mean, like, don't feel bad about letting people go who bring you down. I think that's essential in life. That's not to say those people aren't welcome when they want to be positive, like, because there's just so much negative people contribute to life, and it's not a good thing. So today I'm very cerebral and I don't have a lot of goofing around. Like, I will often goof around on these things, and today I'm just not in that state of mind. Another thing going through my mind last night was the topic of mental illness, what that is, what that means. As a label and as a true designation, somebody's got serious problems and they could be designated as mentally ill, okay? I don't think depression in and of itself is necessarily always a mental illness, because there are ways of dealing with feeling depressed. There are ways it can be amplified and there are ways that it can be rectified. But it goes something like, it goes back to what I was saying about, if you're stinging emotionally, the wrong thing to do is to dive into drug use, to think you're going to get some kind of healthy perspective on it. I'm not saying you can't have deep thoughts when you're high. I'm talking about specifically emotional management. And what is mental illness? I think we should always be like careful about how we label ourselves, because, well, like, we don't have to paint a worse picture of ourselves than is truly the case. Sometimes I think what people are calling mental illness is you're bummed out for some reasons that can be rectified. Trying to think of a good example. I don't want to just blurt on and on. I'm trying to think of a good example, like, you know, the natural state of life is, it's not always to be euphoric and happy. I think it's important to develop a sense of calm in life, and that's what meditation does for me. I'm calm meditating. I'm not bored. I'm not euphoric. I'm relaxed and I'm calm, and it usually works really well that way. And so I'm training my mind to be like that. I've said this to you guys before, like, motion equals emotion, and that statement comes directly from Tony Robbins. I've heard him say it a million times, and as I'm meditating, I think of that statement because I go through my entire body and relax everything. I do two things. I relax and I focus on healing everything. I go from my feet all the way up to my head, inside through my organs, my body, digestive tract, everything, literally. And I get to my face and I realize I have this tension built up in my face, and it's like, ugh. And I'm already sort of into the meditation at that point, and I still notice, relax my eyes, my face, my lips. And by golly, creating that state really does make me feel calm. And boredom is anxiety. And so a lot of people, they're bored, and so they do drugs, but they don't let themselves get into a natural, sober, lucid state for a long period of time where they can easily deal with the boredom, because their mind is chemically out of whack. You've got to give yourself time to where you recognize, okay, my mind is kind of in a normal, even keel state now. I've been sober long enough where I can deal with it. And it's like all the things I mentioned before, sleep and eating the right foods, nutrition, the physical activity, the congregating with others, All these things fit into that equation elaborately. So you have to treat all of these things like the diet of a good spiritual personal life, okay? And I think it works, but a lot of people, you know, where does it tip the scale, and where are you really falling into, wow, I really am emotionally messed up to the point where it might be accurate to say you're mentally ill? I know talking to people helps. That's why a good therapist helps, because just the confessional aspect of talking about how you feel about various things, it makes you feel better. I've felt that weight lifted off when you say, oh, this is how I feel, this is what I did, this is how I wronged you. It's therapeutic. So that connecting with others, that's part of the diet, but gotta let yourself be calm. But at the same time, don't think that you have to paint an overly negative, dark view of yourself. That may not be good. That may just be indulging in a negative thought. When you want to get away from, give yourself a break. That's what I say to my friend Howard a lot. Just give yourself a break. What's up, Howard? I know you're watching this or listening, but we are hard on ourselves. So I've made a total deliberate concerted effort not to do that with myself. You know, when I get mad at myself is when I accidentally hurt myself in a stupid way. When before my daughter left a couple weeks ago, I was reaching into the refrigerator to grab a bottle of water, and I have to go all the way to the back, and it was like I caught my finger on a ledge, and actually it was the middle finger. I cut it right here, and it hurt like hell for 2 days because it was like an abrasion, and I scraped the skin off, and I was mad. I was instantly mad, like, ugh! I have a temperamental reaction when I hurt myself in stupid ways, and that is an area in which I could probably mellow out a little bit, but I'm self-critical when I hurt myself in a dumb way. When you accidentally hit your elbow on something or do something stupid to hurt yourself, that's a way in which I personally I struggle to stay positive. Yes. I'm going to start wrapping this up, but I do suggest people go out, congregate, search the world, step outside your comfort zone, and that includes being like, I want to say to people, like, let's say you're getting high all the time. You are on the right path in some sense of the word if you realize, hey, I hate this. I don't want to be doing this anymore. And so you may be like struggling with quitting because your mind is in this tug of war with getting high to feel better, but then being in that negative loop and realizing, I hate this. You're one step ahead of a lot of people who want to deny it when you realize that. And so that's kind of what I wanted to tell somebody. And I didn't get the chance for various reasons. And I will when I do get the chance. But that's something to be positive about. Like I said, you're one step ahead if you realize you don't want to be doing this anymore, even if you're still in the throes of how am I going to quit. I will say this was another thing that crossed my mind since going to Marijuana Anonymous last night. If I smoke right now, it's really going to throw my mind into a whoo, I want to keep getting high. And I feel like it's a danger because for me to really quit again after that, I have to fall back into hell completely, smoking it all the time and getting royally, totally fed up with it. Otherwise, my mind, it's like I've awakened the demon. I feel like the demon is atrophied and put to sleep right now. And that's not the same as having control of it. But once you get high, it's like, woo, that demon's awake again and like, oh yeah, I want this more and more and more. It fuels it. So the shame of, like for me example, if I go and smoke, I have to get back to a place where I'm totally fed up. Some people might call it hitting rock bottom again. I think that's accurate. I kind of have to hit an emotional rock bottom again for me to be able to say, okay, it's time once again for me to clean up. And then I'm not in, like I noticed this last time. I went 10 months without smoking, and then I smoked for a couple months, and I became miserable again within a couple weeks. But it took me 2 months to be like, screw this, I want to stop again. But I had a very familiar reference in my memory about remember those 10 months sober. It was very just recent, and how nice it was and how calm it was. So I don't feel that even after indulging for those 2 months and quitting, it was hard to quit again, and I had to go through those first couple months, but I had a very solid reference point recent in my memory that served as like a solid foundation that was already starting to be built. And so that was positive for me, and it would be something similar now. I would have fun for about a week or two smoking, and then I would feel trapped again for a couple months, and then I would be like, all right, screw this again, I'm quitting again, and maybe it wouldn't be like starting. It's at square one when you quit and you have to go through that feeling of quitting again. But I kind of feel like I'm in a place. I thought about it this morning when I was praying that I don't want to put myself in situations where I'm at risk. So having dinner with people who are drinking glasses of wine, that's not a super risk to me. But if I'm going out with people, a group of people, and their agenda is to go to a bar and drink and get drunk, that's more of a risk for me, because I might say, okay, I can just have one drink. So my sister keeps inviting me to happy hours, and I'm like, dude, happy hours? Come on. With the point, being around a bunch of people being drunk, it's just going to draw me into that getting drunk again. And then I'm at risk for smoking. That's the biggest reason I quit drinking, was because that was the trigger that would make me want to do any bad behavior. And so I quit that. And so I'm doing a very good job at not exposing myself to situations that put me at risk. And I'm trying to step outside my comfort zone and try new things. And I'm going to continue doing that. I didn't tell you guys, this Friday, I'm going to be going to a choral group of a few people for a chorus, like a choir, and be practicing this one piece. They gave me sheet music, and it's like, yeah, I can do that. I hope they can do that. That's what's key to me. Like, I just sing very well with people. When you can rely on what someone else is doing, it makes it so much easier to do my job. And I feel the same way in a band. Like, I don't want to be the guy making mistakes. I like to hold the hacky sack up. I don't know if you ever did this. You hacky sack with a group of people. I don't have to be Mr. Flashy. I just like to be able to keep the hacky sack and deliver it to someone else without being the one who lets it fall on the ground. So, but anyway, I'm digressing now, and I want to say, I think I said some worthwhile stuff here today. It ran a little bit long. Wish these videos would upload a little more quickly to YouTube. Takes quite a while to upload a 35-minute video, and then it has to process. But no big deal. If you're getting something out of this, I appreciate it. And if you want to send me feedback, you can always send feedback to Paul at FitSpaz.com. And furthermore, if you want to hear any of the past shows, you can always find everything related to me at my website, FitSpaz.com. I want to give a shout out to Kevin MacLeod, the amazing composer, producer, whose music is featured in the background of this podcast. And you can find out more about him by going to Incompetech.com. That's it. That's all I got for today. I hope it was some bit of wisdom. I hope some of it was interesting. I got warmed up. My mind is stimulated. I feel good. I have my early morning energy. I did a great warm-up relief routine today. And I'm feeling pretty good. So I have lunch with a friend today. Like I said, getting out there around other people. In the meanwhile, I will come to you at some point next week. So check the podcast feed. I will get this thing regular on a given day again. My daughter will be with me Wednesday, so it won't be on Wednesday. I'm looking at Tuesday. So I hope you're all well. And that's not my... What are we doing here? Outro, okay. I'm Paul, the producer. This is FitSpaz Radio. I appreciate you listening, and I will talk to you guys next week. Yeah.